Good afternoon. Parashat Vayetse. V'shem Hashem naaseh v'natzliach. So this shiur is dedicated to all wounded soldiers for refuah shelema, and to the civilians who need treatment, who are sick, and the hostages, refuat hanefesh u'refuat haguf, and also to Avraham ben Chana and Zechariah David ben Pearl Shira, betoch cholei Am Yisrael. And this is also dedicated to Le'ilui Nishmat, all those soldiers who were massacred and the civilians who were massacred on October 7. It is also for the safety of our soldiers and our hostages and all the Jews in Eretz Israel and everywhere else in the world, as anti-Semitism is only growing. So, Parashat Vayetse. At the end of Parashat Toldot, Yitzchak and Rivka, they send Yaakov to Lavan. He's 63 years old. It's time for him to get married. But Yaakov doesn't go straight to Lavan, to Haran. Instead, he spends 14 years learning Torah in the yeshiva of Shem Ve'ever. And then he goes to Lavan. Why did he do this? Because he knew that his mother's brother was far from being a good person. And he knew that he would need a lot of strength, spiritual strength, to overcome this wicked man. So on his way to Lavan, suddenly the sun set and became very dark. And Yaakov had to spend the night right there where he was. Where was he? He actually had passed the place, and Hashem actually made the place come to him. This was Har HaMoriah. Har HaMoriah is the place where Avraham took Yitzchak for Akedat Yitzchak, and where Avraham and Yitzchak prayed after the Akedah, and where his own parents, Yitzchak and Rivka, had gone to pray to have children. And this is also the place where later on Yaakov's children, Ben Israel, will build the first Bet HaMikdash and the second Bet HaMikdash. And Be'ezrat Hashem, the third Bet HaMikdash will also be in that same place. When Mashiach will come, B'mhera b'yamenu, amen, in our days soon. Hashem had shortened the day, so Yaakov would sleep in Har HaMoriah. So Yaakov had no blanket, no mattress, nothing. And he prepared himself for bed, right? So he just took some rocks. He chose very carefully, selected them, 12 rocks that he put around him for protection from wild animals. And he used one of them for a pillow. Now, there's a very interesting midrash. This midrash is quoted by many, many great rabbis, and it tells us that there was a nest. There was a miracle that happened then and there. What was the nest? That all those stones they wanted to have, they were actually fighting. They wanted to have the zechut that Yaakov should put his head down on one of them. They were all fighting with each other. Now, how can it be? These are stones, obviously, but we know that that there is a malach that is responsible for everything that is in the world, for every tree, every blade of grass. There is a malach that's responsible for it. So there were malachim responsible for those rocks. So the malachim really were having those discussions. And they were having those arguments. Each one wanted this great tzaddik to put his head on on the rock so he would sleep. Now, why did Yaakov choose 12 stones? What's the meaning of number 12 here? So obviously, 12 is a 12 Shevatim. He knew he was going to have the 12 Shevatim to establish the Jewish nation, Am Yisrael. And he said, I'm going to take this as a sign. If all the stones come together as one, right? So I know for sure that I have been chosen to be the one to establish Am Yisrael. And it happened. So the Khatam Sofer explains, according to the Ari HaKadosh, it explains like this. There are in Shamayim, in heavens, there are 12 gates. 12. One for each Shevet. Each tefillah goes through its Shevet's gate. For example, the man from Shevet Yehuda, let's say his name is Eliyahu. So Eliyahu, his tefillah will go through the gate of Shevet Yehuda. And not only this, but also the berachot that are coming down from Hashem, they go through each gate. The berachot for Yehuda, the berachot for Yisachar, the berachot for Dan, for Zevulun, for Gad. Each one is getting his berachot are coming through his own gates, along with Torah knowledge and limud Torah. So these stones, they really wanted Yaakov to put his head down on it, each one. Not only this, the Midrash says that even all the neshamot of Ben Israel were there, which is unbelievable. Why were they there? Because they needed, and their companion, they went along with Yaakov because they needed to be freed from the house of Lavan. They were trapped. All those neshamot of Ben Israel were trapped in the house of Lavan. And how was Yaakov going to free them? By marrying Rachel and Leah and their two maids, Bilhah and Zilpah. And that's how Yaakov was going to be able to get all those neshamot free from the tum'ah of Lavan. So each Shevet actually had its own way of serving Hashem. And they would unite, and they will unite in the Avodat Hashem, in serving Hashem. So in the morning, when Yaakov woke up, first of all, he was shocked, very shocked. Wow, I didn't know this place was so special, right? And then he realized the dream came back to him, that Hashem spoke to him, and he saw Malachim going up, coming down, and Malachim going up, right? So he realized this place is very special. So that big stone, that all those stones that became one, he picked it up. It was a big stone, and he stood it up. By a nest, there was oil, a container of oil there that he poured that the container of oil on the matzeva, on that stone. And he prayed, and he made his vow, his neder. And he said, this monument, this matzeva, will be the house of Hashem, Bet Elokim. Now, how can this matzeva be Bet Elokim? It's just a rock. Yes, it is huge. It's very, very big, because you actually can even see it. It's the same big stone that the Even Hashtiyah that we spoke about before Tisha B'Av, and you can see it online. You can look up for pictures of the. That's what the mosque is called, the Dome of the Rock, because of this huge rock. Nobody can move it, and it's there in the mosque. And so now he's calling it Bet Elokim. Now, how can this stone, this big huge stone be the house of Hashem. House of Hashem needed rooms, needed a yard, it needed this rock cannot be the house of Hashem. So Or HaChaim HaKadosh said that this stone actually is actually Even Ashtia, the foundation stone. This stone was in the Kodesh HaKodashim, and that's why it still is there in the mosque, right? Today, it is still in the mosque. No one can move it. And it is there because actually that is the center of the world. If we ever look where is the center of the world, that place, the Kodesh HaKodashim, is the center of the world. And the Aron HaKodesh was put on top of this stone. So what is so special about this stone? And why is it called the foundation stone? So the answer is that the stone covered the whole from where Hashem started to create the world. The original stone, not the stone from Yaakov. Hashem, that stone covered the whole from where Hashem started creating the world. Hashem connected the stone that Yaakov slept on it to the Even Ashtia. Now these two stones are connected. Hashem put it on top. But what did Hashem then do? Then Hashem pushed all the way deep in the earth. He pushed down the Even Hashtia, the original one. And then the stone from Yaakov stayed on top, stayed there. And that's the one that we see in the mosque. As we said before, the 12 stones, they became one, right? They represent the 12 Shevatim. Hashem created this entire world for who? For the 12 Shevatim. And Hashem put this stone at the site of the foundation of the world. Because Hashem wanted us to understand that the Bet HaMikdash will be built in this place. And it is as if these stones carry the burden of the world. So if any descendants, any of the children of Yaakov are not good, the world will not collapse. So we learn that the first Bet HaMikdash was destroyed because of three very serious sins. Number one, Avodah Zarah, believing and serving idols. Number two, Gilui Arayot, immorality. Number three, Shefichut Damim, which is murder. That was why the first Bet HaMikdash was destroyed. After 70 years, we built a second Bet HaMikdash. And unfortunately, the second Bet HaMikdash was destroyed because of Sinat Chinam. Even though during the time period of the second Bet HaMikdash, there were people who were learning Torah, and they were doing the mitzvot, and they were doing chesed. But Sinat Chinam was so rampant. Hatred, baseless hatred, was so rampant. It was so much. There was so much, causing so much division and so many fights among the Jews that it caused the destruction of the second Bet HaMikdash. And that comes to teach us that the three serious sins equal the Sinat Chinam, the baseless hatred. And the Hashem tells us, as long as there is Sinat Chinam, we cannot have the Bet HaMikdash. For the Bet HaMikdash to exist, there has to be Ahavat Chinam. ve'ahdut. There has to be love, love, love. Just because you're another Jew, I don't know you, don't know who you are, but you're my brother, you're my sister, and ahdut and unity, and that has to be widespread, that everyone feels that way. That's just the way we feel in Israel, what's going on in Israel, how they're united now, how they're helping each other, and they're loving each other, and they care so much for each other. That's the way it should really be the whole time. So for this reason, Hashem chose this stone that was formed from the union of the 12 small stones, the 12 separate stones, that we must live in harmony, with harmony, as one, as one, in harmony, loving, caring. And because of this, Hashem pushed down the Even Ashtia, his Even Ashtia, all the way down. And he left there, in the Kodesh HaKodashim, the stone from Yaakov. So that means Hashem had a message, and he still has a message for us. The foundation and continued existence of the Bet HaMikdash is only because of Ahdut and Ahavat Hinam. Just like those 12 stones who became as one because of Yaakov. But when Sinat Chinam, baseless hatred, is causing division and separation between families and friends and neighbors, the Bet HaMikdash cannot continue to exist. So let's hope that this Ahavat Hinam, this unity, this Ahdut that they are feeling there in Israel, let's hope that it will still stay on after the war, Be'ezat Hashem. Once they've finished doing their jobs, the army finishes to do its job, and we'll get back our soldiers, we'll get back our hostages, and let's hope that Be'ezat Hashem, things will go back to normal, but without all those demonstrations, without all those fights and divisions and trouble that it was causing to Israel. Now I would like to move on talking about Rachel. What Rachel did is so amazing, so not natural, so in control, that is just unbelievable. So let's look into it. Yaakov came to Lavan, he got to see his cousin, and he knew Rachel, that she was going to be his wife. And Yaakov said to his uncle, I'm ready to work for you for 7 years, just so I can marry daughter Rachel. Obviously, he had spoken to Rachel about it, and Rachel had agreed. And she said, but however, my father is a big trickster. He's a liar. Doesn't keep his words. So you have to be very specific when you talk to him. And Yaakov said, no problem, don't worry. I'll be very specific. Not only this, I'm teaching you now the 3 halachot that a woman has to keep. Chala, Nida, and Hadlakat Nerot. And so, when Yaakov spoke to Lavan, he said, E'evodcha 7 shanim be'Rachel bitcha haketana. He says, I'm going to work for you for 7 years for Rachel. So that Rashi says that he should not take any girl whose name is Rachel and bring her to Yaakov. Bitcha, you daughter. That's why he said be'Rachel bitcha. Haktana, the youngest one. Lavan agreed. However, the Midrash says that no one was ever safe from Lavan. He was a very big sorcerer, a cheater, and a thief. Lavan really means white. Why is he called Lavan? Just like you can see anything that is white, no one can say no, it's not. It's not white. It's pink, or it's blue, or green. It's white. Everyone can see. That's how everyone was able to tell Lavan's character, because anyone had dealings with Lavan and dealt with him only once, not more than once, they knew that they had to stay away from him. He was always able to manage doing what he wanted, to trick them, to steal from them, to lie them, and whatever, to lie to them and stuff like this. So the 7 years passed, and Yaakov worked very hard. And in the end, he said, "Okay, my 7 years are passed. Give me my wife. That's it. I'm supposed to marry Rachel." Lavan said, "No problem. Sure. Yes." And so preparation, they started to prepare for a wedding. But Lavan was even more busy than usual. Why? Because Lavan went to see the people of the town. They were going to be there for the wedding. They were going to be his guests. And he told them like this: "Listen, Yaakov wants to marry Rachel. But Rachel and Leah really are twins. But Leah is older. It is true that Rachel is taller, but Leah is older. So really, Leah should really be getting married first. So I don't want you to go and tell Yaakov that Leah is getting Leah instead of Rachel, because he asked for Rachel and he worked for Rachel." People said, "Okay, no problem, we won't tell." He says, No. I can't take your word for it. Give me your gold. Give me your money. That for sure you're not going to say a word. And then after the wedding, I'll give it back to you." People were scared of him. So they gave him. They gave him the gold. They gave him the money. What did he do? He went. He used the money to pay for the wedding expenses. And that's it. People later on, when they came and they said to him, "Lavan, give us back." We didn't say a word to Yaakov. "Give us back our money and our gold." What did he say? "What are you talking about? I don't know. You never gave me anything." He did not completely about all the money that he had taken from them and the gold. Rachel was getting ready to go to the chuppah to get married. And Lavan comes, he says, "No, you're not getting married. Give you the dress to your sister. She's the one who's getting married." Rachel could have complained. She could have said something. She didn't say a word. She didn't say a word. But Rachel also knew about the whole town knew that Leah was going to get married tonight. And Rachel said, "How can I allow my sister? She's not going to be embarrassed in front of my husband, in front of Yaakov. She's going to be embarrassed in front of the entire town. How can I let something like this happen? No way, I cannot let this happen." So what did she do? She told Leah. She didn't tell Leah, "Listen, Leah, I have signs with Yaakov." No, she didn't say that. She said, "Leah, you know, a Jewish woman is supposed to know 3 halachot. Do you know anything about them?" No, I said, "No." She said, "Okay, so let me tell you about them." And so she taught her about challah. She told her about nida, and she told her about adlakat nehot. She never told her that this was actually a sign between Rachel and Yaakov and Rachel. Never. She never told her. So when Leah stood in front of Yaakov asked her those questions. Leah said, "Oh, of course, yeah, I know about this." And she answered. She knew the answers. Yaakov, the next morning, realized what happened. That obviously Rachel had taught Leah. But Rachel never said anything to Leah that Leah was taking her place. Actually, Rachel convinced Leah that really Yaakov wanted to marry only you. You're the one that Yaakov intended to marry all this time. All those 7 years that he worked was for you, Leah. That's all. She never said anything about that the father took her or told her to switch places. So we see how this is the first part of Rachel's what we call tzniut. Tzniut is not only about wearing proper clothing. Tzniut is also about knowing information and keeping quiet about it. That's also called tzniut. So Rachel had this information, but she kept quiet. She didn't say anything. The next morning, Yaakov was upset. So he went to Lavan. He said, "What did you do? I asked you for Rachel bitcha haktana." He said, "Yeah, you told me the smaller one. Leah is smaller than Rachel, so I gave you the smaller one." And not only this, he even played as if he was the one who was wronged, that Yaakov was doing wrong for coming and complaining to Lavan. However, he said to him, "You know what? In 1 week time, you can marry Rachel, and then you're going to work for another 7 years." And Yaakov agreed to that. At the time when Rachel, by the way, at the time when Rachel gave those signs, the 3 signs to Leah, Rachel didn't know that she would end up marrying Yaakov in a week later. She didn't know that, right? So now we move on. And then we see the next level up. The first one was a nisayon. It was really a challenge. Now let's look at the second challenge that Rachel is facing again with her sister. Much later on, so we know that Rachel Leah right away, she became pregnant. She got Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. She had 4 children. Rachel, nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing was happening with Rachel. So Rachel gave her maid, Zilpah. She said, "Come marry Zilpah. At least Ibani Mimena. At least her children will be like mine, as if I gave them to birth to them." Right? Then one day Reuven was coming home and he had picked flowers from the fields. Those flowers are called dudaim, mandrakes in English. They have a power of making a woman who can't have children, making her be able to conceive. And so Rachel said to Leah, "Please, can I have your son's flowers?" And what does Leah answer? "המעט קחתך את אישי ולקחת את דודאי בני? Is it not enough that you took my husband? You also want to take my son's flowers?" Whoa, this is odd. Is this how Leah pays back to Rachel? Why did Leah speak so harshly to her sister? To Rachel? Why? And then, why Rachel did not answer? Not why Rachel didn't answer, sorry. What was Rachel's reaction to these harsh words? It was really, this now was the opportunity that Rachel had to really tell her the truth, the whole truth. That really Yaakov wanted to marry Rachel and never Leah. Rachel didn't say that. So the answer is like this. Rachel had done such a good job at convincing Leah that Yaakov actually wanted to marry Leah and not Rachel. All along, that this is who Yaakov wanted to marry, you, Leah, not me. that now that when Reuven had gone out to get some flowers, Leah accused her of taking her husband. Leah says, "Is it not enough you taking my husband? I am his wife, and you came into my marriage, and he's yours. What is going on? What are you doing to me?" This is Leah complaining. So Chachamim explain, why did Leah speak like this? Because it seems that each one of the mothers, Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah, later on Zilpah, that each one had a tent. Usually, Yaakov's bed was in the tent of Rachel, unless it was a night that had Yaakov was supposed to be with Leah or with Bilhah or Zilpah, then he went there. Otherwise, he would actually spend most nights in the tent of Rachel. And that's why Leah spoke so harshly. You took my husband. If you took my husband, it means you had plenty of opportunities to get pregnant. Why do you want to have the flowers? What for? Those flowers are not necessary. You don't need that. You already have my husband. Rachel controlled herself. She had to be super, super, super human not to answer Leah. She really had to be super, super woman. She did not say a word. But instead, what did she say? She said, Yaakov will be in your tent, Leah, tonight. Please, may I have the flowers? And so Leah gave the flowers. And Yaakov slept in the tent of Leah that night. And Leah got pregnant that night with Issachar. When Hashem saw how Rachel controlled herself and did not put her sister in her place, she could have, and she had every right to do so, every reason and every right. Hashem rewarded Rachel with Yosef, which we learn about Hanukkah, and also with Binyamin. These two children were very special children. Then from Binyamin, Yosef himself became the vice king. Then from Binyamin came Shaul HaMelech, who was a great tzaddik. And from Shaul HaMelech came Mordechai and Esther, who saved Am Israel. So that's why Rachel is the only one, and Hashem listens. And she goes and she cries to Hashem, save my children. And Hashem says, Veshavu min'ei kolech mibechi. Stop crying, Rachel. Veshavu banim ligvulam. And your children are going to go back home. So may Hashem save Am Yisrael in our days the same way as he saved them from the hands of Haman and all those like him. May Hashem guide and bless our soldiers and bring them home safely, and our hostages too. Shabbat Shalom.